Without so much as a warning, life hangs in the balance. Human endeavor turns to chaos. And within seconds, nothing will ever be the same. Ever. During the next 30 minutes, you will be treated to some of the most extraordinary moments of destruction ever recorded. From a sinkhole swallowing up an entire Ukrainian neighborhood to a speedboat racer launched across the water at over 140 miles per hour. Take a deep breath, because this is destroyed in seconds. This is Hank Hogan, and this is what it looks like to skip across the water at over 140 miles per hour. Suwannee River, Central Florida. Amateur drag boat racers flock here in droves. At high speed, the surface area of a boat touching the water is smaller than a deck of cards. In his first run, Hank Hogan takes his $50,000 custom-built speedboat up to 136 miles per hour.
It's the excitement I get and the exhilaration I get and going out there running top speed, that's what makes my heart pound.
Now Hank's back, vying to be the first to reach 150 miles per hour.
I'm very competitive, I'm highly competitive. I don't like being second.
And he's off.
Dude, he's off.
At over 140 miles per hour, his boat flips end over end. And Hank is shot out onto the water. The boat is destroyed, but worse, Hogan is nowhere to be seen.
God! His hands up? He's up. He's all right.
When the front of the boat rises, air gathers underneath, and aerodynamic lift vaults it into the air like a wing, overturning the lightweight fiberglass boat.
And the boat went over like that in an instant. And I never had an opportunity to, back out of it or really give it much thought. And that kind of speed, the boat's not going to settle back on the water. It's going over. It's virtually too late to let out of it at that point. And it went so fast, in a split second, it was gone.
Although the boat will have to be completely rebuilt, Hank Hogan suffers nothing more than minor bruises.
I don't see how you could be pitched out of that boat and bounce across that water and come out as well as I did.
But he insists that this incident isn't going to keep him away from speedboating.
I'm gonna get back in the saddle. You can bet on that. I'm coming back. It's an obsession coupled with a sickness.
October 5th, 1991. For 18 years, the Soviet Union had been working on a supersonic jet fighter that would defy traditional avionics. The idea was to create a new generation of jets that would not only fly beyond the speed of sound, but also possess the ability to take off and land vertically. Ideal for landing aboard an aircraft carrier. The Yak-41 fighter is poised for a perfect landing, but the test pilot's about to find out just how tricky that's going to be. And as the jet fuel burns, the pilot is still trapped inside. What looks like a controlled speed is deceptive. The pilot's bringing it down too fast. The plane's fuel tanks rupture and burst into flames. Fire engulfs the wreckage, and there's no sign of the pilot. Seconds later, he ejects to safety. Less than a year later, An older version of the plane, the Yak-38, is put on display. Showing off their hovering capabilities, the two fighters sit eerily still, just a few hundred feet above the runway. In a choreographed routine, they circle each other horizontally. Then, just seconds after they return to their starting points, one of the plane's engines cuts out. An instant after the pilot realizes he's lost control, he bails, and the plane plummets. Thankfully, the pilot lands safely on the tarmac. The accident happened because the exhaust from the plane on the left is sucked into the engine of the plane on the right. This disturbance in airflow causes catastrophic engine failure. Although the Soviet-era design of both Yak fighters is revolutionary, it will take years for pilots to master their complexity. Salt Lake City, Utah. A pickup truck has flipped over after running over a patch of ice. State troopers are on the scene, and the driver is inside the truck searching for his papers. Then, something catches the attention of the troopers. The driver is oblivious of what's about to hit him. As officers flee, a van towing a trailer has just run through the same patch of ice. The van loses traction, sending it out of control. Fortunately, no one was injured from these accidents, and the driver of the truck finally found his registration. A gigantic sinkhole swallows a 9-story apartment building in this city in central Ukraine. In the course of a single day, 144 apartments crumble into this ever-expanding ravine. Local authorities evacuate more than 3,000 people. Trees are torn away like twigs. The ground itself flows like lava. A kindergarten classroom disappears into the growing abyss. Fortunately, the destruction takes place long before class was to be in session. For weeks, the city has been assaulted by heavy rains, causing flooding and massive mudslides. The soil here is loose and completely saturated. And to make matters worse, the building complex was constructed atop an underground river. Today's devastation was unfortunately inevitable.
Ничего нам никто не предлагает, ничего. Спросите у людей. Почему?
Earlier this morning, tenants felt their building shaking. Thankfully, the apartments were empty by the time the worst of the damage occurred.
Пока еще просто, не осознаю, наверное, всего этого.
3,200 people are left homeless, and one person is killed. By the end of the day, the size of the sinkhole is over 16,000 square feet. Within 4 days, the crater left behind is 8 times bigger. On the bucolic Pontiac Lake in Michigan, a cameraman is making a fishing video. As the fisherman waits for a bite, something else catches his eye.
That plane's going down.
Tape that, man. Tape it. Tape it. The guy's going down, man.
Oh. The airplane slams into the water.
We gotta go check it out. We gotta go see if there's if the guy's okay.
Fortunately, the plane rests in just 4 feet of water. But as the men approach the aircraft, a new danger surfaces.
We got fuel all over the place, man. Is that guy knocked out?
I don't know, but he's not looking too right.
Hey, dude, you got a life jacket? Yeah.
Need a life jacket?
Despite the danger, bystanders wade into the water to rescue the 3 injured men.
My back. Are you okay?
2 of the passengers are cleared from the wreckage, but the pilot remains trapped.
I'm going down.
Are you pinned in there? Why don't you just wait right there then if you're okay until ambulance and everything's fine. Why don't you just sit in there, okay?
Finally, a paramedic arrives. Not knowing the extent of his injuries, he stabilizes the pilot. Then, he carefully brings him to shore. It turns out that a clogged valve caused a blockage of fuel to the engine, ultimately leading to the crash. Although the men aboard suffered serious injuries, they did make a full recovery. As for the aircraft, it was deemed a $70,000 total loss. What appears to be vintage 1950s footage of a nuclear weapons test is actually U.S. Coast Guard surveillance video taken in 2007. An enormous explosion rocks the T2 laboratories in Jacksonville, Florida.
We've got multiple explosions at this time. We're not able to get within probably 1,000 feet of this thing right now because it's still exploding. There's nobody could survive what went on over there.
The initial explosion is so powerful that pieces of machinery are sent flying and land several blocks away. The force of the blast actually bends and tears the walls of a nearby factory. Surveillance videos from adjacent buildings illustrate the magnitude of the explosion. Businesses within 300 yards of the T2 labs are ripped apart.
The multiple victims still not accounted for, so we need to check all the structures in the area.
A worker trapped in the plant has called 911 on his cell phone.
I've got the victim on the floor with me right now. Both of his legs are injured. The planes are getting closer to me now. I'm on the ground.
There are 4 fatalities. 33 other people are injured. The man on the cell phone is rescued and survives with 2 broken legs.
That is the victim we're looking for.
Keep going, keep going, keep going.
T2 manufactures Ecotane, a relatively stable gasoline additive, but the process used to create it can be extremely volatile. Industrial accidents don't occur frequently, but when they do strike, the damage they cause is often catastrophic. A U.S. Auxiliary Coast Guard unit is called into action to assist in the search for a missing boater. After initial participation in the rescue effort, the crew is given the task of cordoning off the area and keeping recreational boats away from the scene. As the Coast Guard approaches a large tour boat to turn them away, a small boat races across the water. But they are distracted by the passengers aboard the tour boat. And they're on a direct collision course. Only one boater can be seen in the water. Moments later, the second boater appears. As the driver boards the Coast Guard vessel, he still has no idea how he ended up in the water. In spite of the serious collision, neither boater is seriously hurt. And considering the 2 men in the boat weren't wearing life jackets, this collision at sea could have been much worse. What you're looking at is the wreckage of NASA's state-of-the-art X-31 jet fighter.
The aircraft is descending over the North Base area.
After 5 years of painstaking development, this is the end result of its final test flight.
That's one, do you read?
And the cause of this accident?
8584 has ejected.
All traces back to this 3-foot-long metal rod called the keel probe. The design of the X-31 enhanced fighter jet is based upon thrust vectoring technology, allowing the plane to fly in a direction other than where the nose points. Its advanced computer enables maneuvers that would normally stall other planes. In fact, the X-31 can stop, hover, and turn 180 degrees before returning to normal flight. Antelope Valley, California, 1995. Today, the X-31 is on its 67th test flight and has ascended to an altitude of 23,000 feet.
This will be the last one. Yeah, I know.
Then, as the pilot performs a series of tests in conjunction with ground control, he notices an anomaly on the X-31's computer.
Airspeed is off, reading 277 knots.
Despite the discrepancy, the pilot and ground control continue testing the jet.
3, 2, 1, go. Doesn't do anything.
Ground control notifies the pilot of a problem with the heating system used on the keel probe, which gathers data used by the X-31's computer.
We think it may not be hooked up. It may not be hooked up. That's good. I like this.
Seconds later, sarcasm turns to panic
God.
as the pilot abruptly loses control of the aircraft.
Okay, NASA 1, we have an ejection. We have an ejection. NASA 1, do you read?
The experimental aircraft plummets toward Earth.
Yeah, we copy, Dana. We copy. 8584 has ejected. The aircraft is descending over the North Base area.
Even without a pilot, the computer tries to regain control of the aircraft.
584 has ejected from his aircraft. The aircraft is descending north of North Base. The pilot is in the chute at this time, descending approximately 1 mile north of North Base. The pilot's out of the seat and the chute is good.
It maneuvers the X-31 into different positions until... Back at 23,000 feet, the X-31's computer is processing inaccurate data received from the keel probe.
We think it may not be hooked up. It may not be hooked up.
The pilot struggles to maintain control of the aircraft, but the computer overrides its commands and sends the X-31 into a vertical climb.
Oh, God.
With no control, the pilot is forced to eject.
Okay, NASA 1, we have an ejection. We have an ejection.
76 seconds later, the X-31 is destroyed. During routine maintenance, the keel probe's heating system was mistakenly disconnected. It gradually became covered with ice, causing the inaccurate readings that led to the crash. Fortunately, the pilot was not injured. Even though a series of errors caused the crash, it's determined that the incident might have been averted had the pilot been able to bypass the computer system with manual override. I'm Ron Pitts, and we'll see you next time on Destroyed in Seconds.